Then I went again.
Well, he said,
spiritual dimension.
How precious and how
important in the world.
if you have a family.
Everyone else was astonished.
Dr. Levi Reiter is a professor of audiology at Hofstra University, New York. In the mid-1970s, as a college student at the University of Rochester, he began to deepen his connection to Judaism.
One day I decided to, okay, you know what, I'm going to start to put on tefillin. But I didn't, but my tefillin were, we had to somehow dig them up for my bar mitzvah days, you know. And here I was, you know, in grad school. So Rabbi Gurari lent me a pair of extra tefillin that he had. And again, I'm in Rochester, he's in Buffalo, so I put them on. And I kept putting them on. And finally, I decided, after about a year, it's time for me to get my own tefillin. So I ordered a beautiful pair of tefillin. So they came, and I put them on Friday for the first time. Then we had a Moleva Malka in Rochester, the University of Rochester. I went to sleep, I was totally exhausted. I woke up in the middle of the night, and my left arm I was sleeping on my left arm. So my left arm was like, you know, couldn't feel it, you know, like a dead fish, couldn't move it. Then in the morning, you know, it was totally dead. So I went that day to a neurologist. And he examined my arm with all kinds of tests. And he said, these are the three possible outcomes. One, it may never get better. Because if you're leaning on that nerve and you're depriving it of oxygen for so many hours, the nerve can die. And if that happens, either it will never recover, your arm will remain paralyzed, or it could take a year. If a new nerve regenerates itself from the spinal cord and hits that muscle, then you can recover in about a year. He said, on the other hand, it could just be a swelling, an edema, in which case your arm could get better quickly. But there's no way to predict it. So I suggest you wear your left arm in a sling for about a week, and you'll see what happens. Fine. So I'm going through my classes, I'm doing my research with my arm in a sling the whole day, you know. And a week passed, and it was not better at all. So I went to probably the world's biggest neurologist. He was on the president's commission. He happened to be at the University of Rochester, which is a very well-known medical center. So I went to him, and he and a colleague examined my arm and did the pin tests and this test and that test. And they came out with not the greatest prognosis. They said, look, it might get better quickly, but being that it was in a sling for a whole week, no improvement, that doesn't seem very likely. It could take a year to regenerate, or it may never get better. So that was the answer. Now, my sister, Leah, had been going to Mechon Chana. So the principal of Mechon Chana and my sister put together a letter. At that time, and I wasn't so familiar with the Rebbe and who he really was. I was really a neophyte. And so my sister wrote a letter together with the head of Mechon Chana, all about her brother, and including these three choices. So the Rebbe crossed out that it will never get better. The Rebbe crossed out that it'll take a year. The Rebbe circled it's going to get better very quickly. But I should check my tefillin. And of course, these were brand new, gorgeous tefillin. So I sent them back to have checked. And they were perfect. And I had a chashash. I always had a certain doubt in my mind. Am I putting the tefillin on the correct arm? I never expressed it, but the thing is that my left hand is skilled. I write with my left hand. My right arm is much stronger. So bowling, throwing, playing baseball or playing tennis was always my right arm. But my left hand was more skilled in writing. So I called the Rebbe's office, and the maskira told me that, you know, the Rebbe is not going to answer this kind of halachic shaila. You should go to a Rav. So they recommended Rabbi Azdava. I called Rabbi Azdava, and he said, you know, I don't know if this is good news or bad news, but you really have to put it on both arms. I said, Rabbi Azdava, what? How am I going to put it on one arm, both arms? It's hard enough just to put it on one arm. But he told me how to do it. You know, again, don't forget, this is my first interaction with the Rebbe, really. So I couldn't say I was a real believer yet. But as soon as I started doing that, my left arm got better. My left arm became unparalyzed.